Hello everybody and welcome. Today I'm going to be giving you a very concise basically breakdown of the Imaginarium Theater as well as how to beat the levels in the easiest way possible, because there isn't really a lot of difficulty when it comes to the levels themselves, but there is a lot of difficulty in this game mode in terms of planning out your teams, since it requires 11 different characters from it requires 18 total characters, but you have trial characters and all that. But basically you have to plan it out. If you don't plan out your runs, this is like kind of like a almost roguelike like light mode. So you have to plan out your routes in order for you to be successful, which I have it right here, and we're gonna go through all of the details that you need in order to do so. All of the things I will say are going to be related to hard mode, but they will also apply to normal mode and easy mode. And in general, stuff like one of the things I'm going to be talking about is having your strongest character for the bosses and all of that. That applies even better for normal mode and easy mode, since there's less bosses. So there's very little adaptation you have to do with these tips I'm about to give you to properly make use of them in the easy and normal mode. So first of all, like I mentioned before, there are 8 total combat performances for the hard mode difficulty. However, there's the hardest part about the Imaginarium Theater is actually getting the requirements to perform. You need to have 18 characters. Well, in reality, you only need 11 because there's 6 trial and 1 you can invite from a friend. And you need all of them have to be level 70 at least. Which brings us to the first point, that you don't need to have a fully built like 90-90 character, 80 out of 90 character in order to succeed. You can just have them at 70. When I started this challenge, when I started the Imaginarium Theater, I didn't have Beto built at all. I had her at like level 60 or level 50, I can't remember. Where is she? She should be somewhere around here. And I built her up all the way to level 80, even though I didn't need to. I could have kept her at level 70. I just gave her a weapon someone else was holding, and I gave her Xingqiu's artifacts, and she succeeded. Most of the power and later in Genshin comes from the artifacts, not the level. Especially because we don't have dendro and transformative reactions that depend on level. So you don't have to get them to fully amazingly built level. The combats are the combatic performances in this mode are very easy, and you don't need to get them to TPD top shape like you sometimes need for the Abyss for floor 12. Second of all, the trial units are pretty good this time around. Hopefully they keep being pretty good. And for the very first couple of rounds, you actually have a perfectly good, fine team to carry you through the first rounds. So you can get other characters, you can get boons early on, which is you can do Wander, Farazan, Toma, Kuki. Since you need to have 4 characters on your levels, this team, especially considering that at the early levels, there's a lot of get swirl reaction things for bonus flowers. This team will literally carry you through the beginning super easily. They have huge AoE. The first early levels have a lot of tiny enemies that you can choose to take all at once, and Wanderer does perfectly with them with his charge attacks. You literally, with this team, you can clear most things and super easily, and you can get both the extra bonus rewards as well as the star if you really want. So yeah, here's an example of me using the team I was talking about to quickly clear this level super easily. And look at that. I even did it. This is the trial version of the Wanderer, which is significantly worse than my version of the Wanderer. And I even did it with this team with the flowers and with the star. It really is super simple, and this team for early on is really good. I highly recommend it. My third tip is that you should always keep your strongest character for the bosses. So the bosses, every other level in this is really easy. The only difficult part about the levels themselves are the boss levels, with really the only one that could maybe pose an issue for you, especially if you don't have them super built well, is Capellius. So if you have something like a really godly built Hu Tao, or like constellations on your Yoimiya or stuff like that, keep those characters and a really good team for the very last very last 2 bosses, because since you have 2 charges of those characters, you can use, for example, one of my favorite teams, and the one that is probably built the best, that it fits the requirements this time around, is my Arlecchino. My Arlecchino, I have her signature weapon. I have a really, really good set for her. And I just keep her and her Mono Pyro team, which is what I would recommend if you don't have any goated team that you can fall back on, to beat this boss and this boss. Because this boss isn't hard, but it's annoying because once you burst down, like you kill this one, you have to make sure you can burst down this one. And Arlecchino can, you know, extend her rotations and all that to make sure you can actually kill him. And then Capellius has an ice shield, like a cryo shield. And so having a Mono Pyro team just shreds straight through it. Arlecchino can self-heal as well. So yeah, if you can have a team at the very end that is really good, especially that is pyro related, I would highly recommend it. I personally, like I said, I run Kazuha, Arlecchino, Bennett, and Xiangling, and that team just shreds through Capellius and shreds through the twins. So yeah, highly recommend that. 4th tip: have as many broken 4-stars as you possibly can. So like Xiangling, Bennett, Sucrose, Fischl, Cookie, we're getting a trial version. I don't have Cookie built because I personally don't enjoy playing Cookie that much, but you should have her if you don't have as many characters, because these 4-stars are relatively easy to prep up if you have like a solid set. They are very powerful and they can fit in a lot of teams. I cannot tell you how many times I got away with even like a Sucrose, like Lynette, like super scuffed team that does not make any sense. But just because Sucrose is good and like Fischl is good, stuff like that, you can get away with it. The next tip, I lost count at this point, is to actually, defensive supports are pretty useless in this game mode. There's nothing that will one-shot you unless your characters are like very badly built. Like you haven't leveled up your flower artifact and he's level 70. Maybe you will get one-shot because of low HP. But like most of the things in the Imaginarium Theater, with the exception of Capellius, don't do damage at all. Maybe you get staggered, stun locked, but at that point, like that's just unlucky redo type thing. You know what I'm saying? The only, like, if you're looking at what I'm taking, the only like true supportive units I'm taking these are trials, so I can't not take them. I highly recommend them to use them though; they're good. And then like Bennett and Beto. Bennett heals, Beto has a shield. Jean I use mostly for the swirl, but she also heals. And Lynette has a taunt. Like most of the characters I have are either main DPSs, which I have 5 of, or like sub DPSs or buffers, because the reality is most of the characters don't do enough damage, and most of the enemies don't do enough damage, and if you can just kill them before they attack you, you don't have to worry about getting hit. Next, another tip is you should prioritize early on getting as many characters as possible in order to not run into an issue where you've spent a lot of your little flowers, your currency, on boons, and then you end up having a situation where you don't have characters to fight the bosses. I lost my first round because I actually didn't have enough characters, and I handicapped myself basically due to something I will explain later. But basically what I'm saying is you should prioritize getting characters, because the wider variety of characters you can have at your disposal, the better your chances are that you will never run into an issue with a team, basically. Which also brings me to the fact that sometimes you don't need to have an insane team, right? If you have like an insanely built Hu Tao, but you can just kill anyone with that Hu Tao anyways. You don't need to make an insane team around that Hu Tao, especially on the early levels, because you can just kill them with Hu Tao with minimal effort. It's better to keep, the energies, the energies for your other characters, if they're good, for harder fights, and just take one broken character that you're fine with disposing before the final fights. Another thing you should check is the extra requirements and conditions, as well as the stage effects from each of the fights you're going to take, right? In this case, I have 3 fights I can do. with these opponents. You should also look at the opponents and see like what things are better aligned for you, right? But the bonus challenges that give you more flowers have special effects, right? This wouldn't be a bad one for me, because if I want to do, you know, like the team that I mentioned earlier about using Wanderer, Faruzan, and all of that, Wanderer does a bunch of charge attacks, right? So having this team right here on this level is pretty good. These are, you know, monsters that can't really hit me while I'm flying as well. They have to use like their special ranged attacks, which are easy to dodge. And the stage effect is also important, because after a period of time, after the challenge begins, Thunder will descend and strike your characters. If I used a completely like stationary character, I don't know, like if I used Chlorine, for example, and I was pretty bad at dodging with her ease, I would get hit by lightning strike, and that might actually end up killing you, just due to like happenstance and bad luck. Look, this is also a great example of the early team being good and the extra requirements. So this one, for example, has trigger soul reactions 10 times and has these enemies. However, we're going to be running the Wanderer team I just talked about, right? And Pyro characters have an advantage here. If we check on this first one, there are no, you know, specific elemental affinities that are better against this team. But it also has the bonus challenge of triggering soul reactions 5 times. So if we go here and do this one, our swirl-related Anemo team with the Wanderer will do significantly better. But the cool thing is, because I prioritize getting characters early on, and I got my I got a Kaching, I got a who else did I get? I got the Hu Tao, and I got Zhang Ling, right? If I wanted to, I could have done the Pyro level instead. I like this Anemo team pretty well, so I'm just gonna keep on with that. But I could have if I really wanted to. In this case, I didn't manage to defeat all opponents within 75 seconds, but I'm also using all of the trial versions of these characters, which means Farzan is C0, which means she's alright. Toma and Kuki are C0, which, you know, Toma C0 kind of scuffed. Kuki C0 is fine. And Wanderer doesn't have either his signature weapon, which I personally don't have, but I have a 5-star weapon. He has a 4-star weapon. He has okay-ish artifacts, not great. Yeah, it's just like it's a significantly worse team that you can run by yourself. But again, the stars don't matter. It's just bragging rights. And I still managed to get the what's important, which is the flowers. Also worth mentioning, for the boons, I personally prefer, this is more sort of a personal preference, because you could play to better fit it. But I personally prefer, you know, ones that don't have elemental requirements to trigger the effects, because there are certain effects that, you know, in this case, I got really unlucky and I can't really show it to you, but there are sometimes where it says like trigger a pyro related reaction for higher crit or something like that. And the problem with that is if your strongest character is Chlorine, for example, and that's who you saved for the very end of the you know, the Imaginarium Theater, those effects you won't be able to trigger at all, right? Because you won't have a pyro character. So you can still plan around that. And you're like, okay, I'm going to have my pyro character. I should take the pyro buff. But it's better to get unconditional buffs, even if it's a little worse, because that will apply to every single team that you use. But the best part is there's a rewind performance. Psych, I can't use it yet. But if you ever do like a genuine mistake or stuff like that, you can rewind to your previous, like, I guess, save, which would be like the last time you haven't like completed a level, to you know, prioritize how you use your flowers, to reprioritize the characters you use, stuff like that. Finally, I found it. This one costs money, but sometimes the mystery cache can be free. The mystery cache, when it's free, has a chance to be bad. My first run that I did through the Imaginarium Theater that I recorded went from incredible. I had every character. Well, I didn't have every character. I had like 8 characters or something. I had a lot of money to spend. It was going great. And it went from incredible to dead. Because whenever you use the mystery cache, there's a chance of getting something bad. And I had to either give up getting all characters in the future, right? Whenever you complete a level, you get a character. I couldn't do that anymore. In order to revive a character. Or I had to give up all of my flowers, which I had like 250 of, in order to, you know, like, what's it called? In order to revive a character. And I couldn't not get characters because I still had to go through 2 of the bosses. So I had to give up my flowers. I couldn't go back on it. And at that point, I forgot about the rewind feature that I just showed. So, like, I nuked that round. That run was dead at that point. So I don't recommend doing the mystery cache, especially the free ones, because they can be dangerous. Whenever it's rare, it has a very high chance of being good. But it's also kind of gambly, you know? You're kind of, you know, tempting fate a little with these. This one is great. You get to choose another extra alternate cast member or whatever, and it's especially good early on, or if you don't have a lot of characters, to find the character you want. And this one's pretty good too. I'm a gambling man. I got 60. I got my money back, plus 20, so that's pretty good. And if there's one last thing that I must remind you of, and you keep this very importantly in your mind when you're playing this game mode, is this is a roguelike game mode at the end of the day. If a run is going badly and you can tell, like, oh man, this is rough, I'm not doing super well, it's fine to to end the run. I know it sucks sometimes because it's like, oh man, I just lost, I don't know, however much time I put into the first couple levels, but it'll feel a lot worse, trust me, when you hit your head against the wall 17 times trying to beat the final boss and you can't because you have 3 DPSs and, like, Kooky. That's it. All right, it's this happens all the time on, like, true roguelike games like The Binding of Isaac and stuff like that. Sometimes your run is bad and, like, you get a feeling in your bones. It's like, I won't be able to complete this one. But yeah, that's all I had to say about this. I probably ramble a lot. The recording is very long, but it's also because I had to collect my thoughts quite a bit. Hopefully it's like a 10-minute video and not like a 20-minute video. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching. Reminder, the Zenless pre-download is up right now. If you want to play it on release, which will be in about 24 hours, probably by the time this video releases, or like 28 hours by the time it releases, you should go download that and be ready. It comes out July 4th at, I think, midnight EST. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled, your ears open, all that stuff. I'm gonna be streaming Zenless as well on release as soon as it comes out tomorrow. And yeah, I appreciate y'all for watching. Blah blah bless, all the love. Hopefully you have fun with this and with Zenless, and I'll see you tomorrow for another video and for Zenless. Bye bye.